Quick interview. Start the review. Everybody will be dancing when I start the review. Everybody will be dancing when I start the review. Everybody will be dancing when I start the when I started right, letting go of. Talking about an album I've been hyped about for a really long time from the esteemed English gentleman TesseracT. It's their third full-length, Polaris. In just 2 albums, these guys have risen to the top of the metal scene with their anthemic, grandiose, polished, and progressive sound. On Polaris, they've amicably ditched Ash O'Hara, who sang on their last album, Altered State, and went back to Dan, who was on their first album, One. I freaking loved Altered State and Ash's soft and tender, vibrato-rich tone, so I was worried when I heard about the switch because that's probably one of my favorite metal albums of all time. I gotta say that the pre-releases for Polaris, Survival and Messenger, didn't really do anything to revive my interest in this group. They were so cookie-cutter and I just felt like they were just not taking risks. However, this thing came out and luckily those are my 2 least favorite tracks. This album isn't quite as ambitious and risk-taking as Altered State, but it displays a band that really has its sound locked in. It sounds like they've solidified all that they're about in one succinct and focused package. The opener, Dystopia, leads off with one of the better polyrhythmic grooves on the album, as the guitarist really asserts himself with that really distinctive sound. The off-kilter muted riff on the verse is so good. There are some fantastic heavy moments that I think tone lovers will really dig. As a listener and reviewer, I'm definitely less about quality production and guitar tone than I am about melody, progressions, and songwriting. And on that front, this song starts to lose direction on the back half and really repeat itself too often. But I think this song is a big statement as an opener with Dan's vocals leading the charge. Then we get to my favorite song on the album for sure, Hexes. Dan's sultry vocals backed by ambient and layered guitars and synths really show us the ability of this band to create an eerie mood and build tension. The chorus lags and pulses into something just so rhythmically interesting. Survival, the single, blends in and doesn't really do much for me. But it's one fans will appreciate with the mix of the aggression from their first album with those screaming background vocals, but also the melodic hooks of Altered State. Tourniquet, like Hexes, is another slow builder with all these elements that are added one by one to really grow the tension. This is another favorite for me. The melody just starts out so simple and then these velvety harmonies are added. It's just so soft and angelic and so good. Dan sings about the tenderness of love and handles it so delicately, but all of a sudden this dissonant harmony breaks in and the song explodes. Dan emphatically belts out some of the highest notes that he reaches on the album as the theme kind of switches over to the pain of love. Utopia kicks off the second half of this, predictably at first with another ambient section. However, this tune ends up experimenting quite a bit with meter changes all over the place, and even the strange Rage Against the Machine, Faith No More inspired vocal rap that really hits hard at the end. Also some major Tool moments in there. Phoenix busts out with a huge anthemic waltz of a chorus. It's a really joyful and celebratory moment in the midst of these dark and dirty grooves. That high falsetto note, nice. Messenger, like Survival, doesn't really stand out amongst the pack for me. It just feels safe. Cages is one you gotta hear on nice headphones or speakers. There are some incredible nuances and Amos Williams' bass has that harsh rattling sound. Seven Names, the closer, also follows this mountain peak formula that some of the other songs follow. If I have one complaint for this album, it's that predictability. Sometimes I wish that they just mix it up with the songwriting a little bit. I'm okay with the production being so polished, but I just want some variation in the structure. So, it comes down to Ash versus Dan. Ash had the runs and the range with about 3 or 4 notes of height above Dan. That high range really contrasted well with the bassy, low gent riffing. But I think that Dan brings this emotional depth to each performance that's not really there for Ash. Also, I think he just has more dynamic melodies. So I'm glad he's back. So I gotta give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Not a classic, but definitely recommendable. Somehow I don't think that this is the pinnacle of what this band is capable of or what they could achieve, but it definitely has me interested in what they're gonna do next.
You don't have anything to say?